Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you don't know me, I'm Kathy Takushi, the owner of Captivating Journeys, and I'm excited today to do this presentation about Egypt, which is one of my favorite destinations. I've been twice, and today we have a special guest. We have two hosts and a special guest. So Richard, he is our sales rep for AmaWaterways, and we have Todd, and he's the product
Manager.
with AmaWaterways, who actually puts together the itineraries for all the Ama trips. And so he's traveled all over the world, and he said earlier, he's not supposed to say, but I'm going to say it. He's been to 88 countries.
Oh, yeah.
But it's part of your job, So anyways, thanks for joining us. And Richard, I'll let you take it over.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Kathy, for this opportunity once again to host your clients and to be able to talk about another one of our wonderful products. And like you shared also, I'll share for Todd as well. Todd's a very humble guy. He does an amazing job. He knows the product really well. He did help develop this program. He's also the product manager of our Africa product as well. So two really amazing products. But he really is the special guest and the one that's going to walk you through all the different things you can do on this trip. So I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to go off camera for a bit. I'll hop on back at the end, but I will share that if there's any questions anybody has, you'll see on the right side of your screen, there's an area that says questions. You click on that drop-down arrow, you can include some questions there. We'll do our best to get to those at the end of the presentation. This will also be a recorded presentation, so if there's anything that you missed or kind of wanted to hear again, we'll make sure that we get this link over to Kathy soon so she can share that out with you, hopefully by the end of this week. And finally, at the end, I know Kathy has a few little giveaways that she wanted to do for you as well, so be sure to stick around for that also. But we'll see at the end of the presentation. Todd, it's all yours, my friend.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Kathy and Richard. So I'll take myself off camera. And I think I have. All right, great. Okay. Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. And my name is Todd, and I'm talking to you from Los Angeles today. And the first thing I'd like to do is sort of just point out the location of Africa, or not Africa, Egypt in general. It's in the northeastern quadrant of the continent of Africa. And you can see Cairo on the map, Luxor, Aswan. Also down at the bottom, you can see Abu Simbel. Just pay attention to that, and I'll talk about that later on in the trip. It's kind of a special spot. And you'll see Israel, Jordan, and the UAE on the map, because those are extensions that we offer before and after our program. Okay, so our program is called The Secrets of Egypt and the Nile. It starts with 3 nights in Cairo, and then we fly down to Luxor. That flight takes about an hour. Arrive in Luxor, we cruise on the Nile for 7 days, and then head back to Cairo for 1 night at the end. And again, I've got Aswan on the map there, and we'll talk about that in a bit. All right, we're actually launching a new ship in Egypt, and it doesn't start sailing until September of this year. And it's weekly through the end of 2021, and then we continue on through January to June and September to December of 2022. We actually opened for sale for 2023 because of demand in March of this year. All right, let's first talk about Cairo itself. Cairo is a massive city, kind of chaotic. 22 million people live in Cairo. Cairo is an Arabic word meaning conqueror. And Cairo itself, up in the 14th century, already had 500,000 people. The river that you see flowing through Cairo is the Nile. The Nile is the longest river in the world. And well, they say it is the longest. They also say the Amazon's the longest, so they fight over it. But in either case, they're both about 4,300 miles long. The Nile originates way back up in Uganda and in Lake Victoria. The Blue Nile, the White Nile, they flow together, and then you get the one Nile that empties into the Mediterranean Sea. Weekends in Egypt are Fridays and Saturdays. And what else can I tell you? Oh, a fun fact about Egypt, it was the Egyptians that came up with the 365-day-a-year calendar. All right, first things first, let's talk about our new ship, the AmaWaterways. And when I say it's new, it is new, kind of, sort of. And the reason for that is in Egypt, let's see, can everyone put their phone on mic or silence? I'm getting a background. The ship itself, the AmaWaterways, 34 cabins. There's 18 standard rooms and 16 suites. AmaWaterways, dahlia is a plant or a flower that does grow in Egypt, but it also grows in other parts of the world. In Egypt, they only allow a certain amount of ships on the river, and they aren't issuing new licenses on the Nile. So because of that, we had to purchase an older ship, which we did about 3 years ago, and we took it out of service 2 years ago and put it in the shipyard, and we scraped it down to the bottom and to the hull, kind of like a skeleton, and rebuilt it from the bottom up. And actually, we just launched the new ship last week and launched it in Cairo into the night. So we've got 9 months to prepare before our first sailing. This is a deck layout, the layout of the ship. Like I said, 34 cabins. And the smallest cabins are on the bottom of the acacia deck, and that's the orange and the yellow, 194 square feet. Those are still pretty big cabins, and they come with a picture window. And you work your way up to the lotus deck and lily deck. That's where the larger cabins are. We got the cabins in the purple section, 226 square feet. And then above that, the green, the turquoise, the blue, and the pink, those are all the suites. They all come with a balcony or French balcony. And lily deck, we have the main restaurant. And then up on the jasmine deck, we've got this thing called the chef's table. And the chef's table is sort of a private restaurant where each night 15 guests will be invited to the chef's table, where a meal will be prepared by the chef in front of the guests. They'll talk about the food, the history of the food, and the flavors and so on like that. And each night 15 guests will be invited. That means that on the full ship, everyone will get the opportunity at least once to visit the chef's table. Of course, we'll have the fitness room, massage room, hair and nail salon, and we've got the pool on the top deck. And we also will have a wellness coach on board for those that are looking to do morning exercise, yoga, Pilates, stuff like that. That will be available on the AmaWaterways. And another thing I'd like to point out is the AmaWaterways does have an elevator, and the elevator operates between the acacia deck and the jasmine deck. The only flight of stairs you would have to use is to get up onto the top deck with the pool and the bar. So here's an artist rendering of the top deck, the pool, and you can see on this deck umbrellas or shading and canopies and stuff like that. And the reason for that is because in Egypt, it is a very, very sunny climate, very dry, doesn't rain very often. In fact, I always tell the story, when the last time I was in Luxor, I was talking to one of our Egyptologists, her name is Dina, and I said to Dina, it just looks so dry, the desert. When does the last time it rained here in Luxor? And she said she didn't really know, but possibly 17 to 19 years ago. So that's how I'll tell you how dry it is. Even if it did rain, it doesn't rain that much. The average annual rainfall in Luxor and Aswan is less than an inch, Cairo a couple of inches. So very dry. So I know most of you are in Hawaii, so you'll have it. Bring your sunblock, bring your sun hat. Also on the top deck, you will see we do have an outdoor restaurant. And this is the lobby or the entrance with the Egyptian theme onto the AmaWaterways. And this is the lounge. And the lounge is, will be open all day long. And what we actually do, we do this in Europe and so on, is we have a thing called a happy hour. They call it sip and sail. And for an hour before dinner every night, everyone's invited to the lounge, and there'll be complimentary It's a happy hour. Drinks are complimentary. Each night it's something different. It could be local beer and wine. It could be a cocktail of the day. It could be, I don't know, different spirits and stuff like that. But every day there will be a theme, and that'll be a happy hour, 1 hour before regular dinner. And then after dinner, we will have entertainment, evening entertainment. You know, things like belly dance show, something what they call a Darawa show, which is folklore music, cultural show, Galabaya party, which is something like a costume party, even maybe a captain's cocktail party, all different things. So there's always things going on in the lounge. Our restaurant will be serving food, continental food, as well as Egyptian food, which is Egyptian is sort of like Middle Eastern / Mediterranean. And then you'll be foods from that are continental, familiar with those that live here in North America / Hawaii. We will be able to cater to specific diets such as, you know, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, etc. So there's no issues there. Most of the food will be imported from Europe just for hygiene reasons. And I also like to say with the meals, lunch and dinner, complimentary local beer and local wine are included. And you don't think much of local wine, Egyptian wine. Yes, they do have it. There are vineyards in Egypt, but not that many. And the vineyards can't supply enough for the local trade. So a lot of the local wine, well, the grapes are imported from South Africa and they mix it up with the Egyptian grapes, and then you get your local wine, which is actually, they say, is pretty good. Local beer tends to be the brand that they call Stella, which I think we see all different places around the world. All right, let's talk about the rooms on the Amadalia. Like I said, there were 18 regular cabins and then 16 suites. And let's look at the suites first. The bedding can be 2 beds or 1. You just need to let us know at the time of booking. There's a seating lounge in the suite, and then here's an aerial view looking down into the suite with the bedding and the sitting lounge. Again, here's the lounge in one of the suites, and in all the cabins, whether you're in a suite or a regular cabin, complimentary Wi-Fi throughout the ship, as well as up in the lobby and in your room, and television, on-demand TV available, complimentary in all the rooms. Also, in all the suites you'll have a full bathtub, walk-in shower, and something I didn't realize this is important to a lot of guests, but all the suites will come with a double sink. The middle category, that 226 square feet rooms, this is just sort of a generic photo of the regular cabins, 226 square feet. Again, complimentary Wi-Fi, TV, etc. These cabins come with a French balcony. And the smallest category rooms, category E and D, are the ones that come with a large picture window, and you can see what they look like here. And again, they are pretty big at 196 square feet. And these cabins, again, TV, complimentary Wi-Fi, great cabins on the lower deck. All right, so basically, let's start with the itinerary itself, starting in Cairo. So you're going to fly from over the Atlantic, get into Cairo. Most flights into Cairo arrive late in the afternoon or in the evening. Not all, but the majority. And so when you arrive, we'll meet you at the airport. We'll assist you through immigration. And speaking of that, Americans do need a visa for Egypt. Right now it's $25, and you can get a visa. You can purchase it online, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks before you leave. And they'll send you a confirmation. You bring that with you. I really recommend that simply because you'll get yourself through immigration much quicker. So we'll meet you at immigration, assist you through, get your bag. We'll transfer you on arrival to the hotel. The hotel we're using is called the Four Seasons Hotel, Cairo at the First Residence. And this is a view from the Nile of the hotel. The hotel itself, if you remember back earlier, I showed you this picture of Cairo, and I said it was kind of a big city, chaotic and stuff like that. So it's true, this hotel is about a mile south of that location. And we chose this hotel not only because it's a 5-star, it's a beautiful hotel, but its location brings a feeling of tranquility in a busy city. And you can kind of see the trees on the right-hand side. Those are the botanical gardens across the street from the Four Seasons. Four Seasons itself has 200 rooms. Let's take a look at the rooms. These are the rooms. Our rooms in the Four Seasons are all superior rooms, and they all come with a partial Nile view. Rooms come with complimentary Wi-Fi, and another thing is they come with a Bose music system. And if you're not familiar with your music system, Bose is a great name when it comes to sound and stereo sound. This is the interior of the hotel, and you can see how it's kind of like shut off from the rest of the city with the pool overlooking the Nile. The hotel itself comes with a fitness center, comes with, adjacent to it is a small shopping mall. In this hotel are 6 restaurants, and each restaurant is of a different cuisine from around the world. So when we're in Cairo for the 3 nights, we always include lunch, always include dinner, or we always include breakfast, we always include lunch, but we don't include dinner, simply because there are so many choices at this particular hotel. And after a day of sightseeing, we just feel like the guests would like to do their own thing in the evening. Some may want to leave the hotel and eat off-site. Others, you've met new friends on board, so have dinner with each other. So on the first day, you've arrived in Egypt, we've met you at the hotel or at the airport, we've transferred you to the hotel, check in your room, get a good night's sleep, and then the next day, we're gonna head out on our first full day of sightseeing in Cairo. First place we're gonna visit is the Egyptian Museum. And the Egyptian Museum houses the famous artifacts, like including King Tut. King Tut, he ruled Egypt for 10 years. From 1332 BC to 1322 BC. King Tut started ruling Egypt when he was only 9 years old, and he died at the age of 19, so 10 years. How did he die? They say it's kind of controversial, but most likely through a chariot race. And this mask that you're looking at is, they found this mask back in 1925. So in Cairo right now, there is the museum that was built in, I guess it was 1902. They're building a brand new museum in Cairo, and it was supposed to be completed this year, but it wasn't because of COVID. We're thinking it'll be finished, 2020, but in 2021, they're saying it may be finished, maybe delayed a little longer. But if the new museum is open, we will go to the new museum instead, and that museum will house 30,000 additional antiquities that are not located in the current museum and never been seen by the public. So we will go to the museum if it's possible. The next place, after we spend a good chunk of the morning, maybe early afternoon at the museum, we're going to head down to the souk area of Cairo, and we're going to visit the Khan el-Khalili market. And this marketplace, it's home to writers, craftsmen, artisans and stuff, but it's also home to a lot of coffee houses. And coffee houses in Cairo have been around since the 1760s. If we think about Starbucks, Coffee Bean, etc., those types of coffee houses, they came around in the 1990s. Cairo was way ahead of the game, or Egypt in general, and they had coffee houses, more than 300 years ago. So we're going to do a walking tour of the market area. You get to visit the vendors. We're also going to have lunch down in the marketplace at a beautiful 5-star restaurant, kind of like a coffee house / restaurant, and you'll be able to try a lot of local cuisine. So Khan el-Khalili market, and it was named after famous Khalili, who's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He died at the age of 94. So after we spent the day here, we're going to head back to the hotel. You've got a free evening, and then the next day, we're going to head over to the pyramids. And well, we all know the pyramids. We've seen them since we were kids. They're built of limestone and granite. Each pyramid consists of maybe 2 to 2.5 million blocks of the limestone and granite. Up until the 14th century, the pyramids were actually the largest structures or buildings in the world. Probably built around 2550 BC, give or take a couple of decades. And how long did it take to build the pyramids? Anywhere from, they say 10 to 30 years, but I suspect it's more like 20 to 30 years. There was a city of 20,000 that surrounded the pyramids to help build the workers, 20,000 workers to help build the pyramids. Of course, the pyramids are tombs, and a lot of people ask, can we go inside the tombs or the pyramids? And the answer is sometimes, but most of the time you can't. Occasionally, the pyramids are open. I've managed to go in and see it, but to get down into the middle of the pyramid, you've got to like crawl on your knees, bend down, sometimes go backwards, sideways, etc. It's you know, the entranceway is the way they were built back in 2500 BC. So no, you really can't go. If there's a day that it is open and we happen to show up, usually they charge like 25 bucks to go into the tomb, but for the most part, most guests don't go in. The other thing they get asked a lot is, can we do a camel ride? And the answer is yes. We don't include a camel ride. Camels aren't even native to Egypt, but we know they're iconic, and usually there'll be a lot of camels and their owners walking around the pyramids and, you know, asking people for a ride. Do you want to ride? Do you want to ride? And they'll say $1 for a ride. And so you take it, you get on. It's $1, but $14 to get off. So total $15. That's the way they do it. Let's go on to the next thing we're going to visit is the Sphinx. Again, built around the same time as the pyramids, and the Sphinx is the head of a pharaoh. In this case, it's King Khafre. Sphinx took about 3 years to build, and what's kind of remarkable about it is that it's all carved out of one stone. In this case, King Khafre. After the pyramid and the Sphinx, we're going to head over to the Mena House. And the Mena House is an old hunting lodge built back in the 1860s. And back in the day, hunters used to come from Europe down to Cairo, and they would hunt for hippos and crocodiles in the Nile Delta. Of course, they don't do that now, but the architecture, the structure of the Mena House here is absolutely spectacular, and the setting is, well, look right at the pyramid. So we're going to have a 5-star lunch. The Mena House still maintains, like I said, its old structure, but it's also added on a hotel. But we'll be in the older part of the building, and we'll eat outside if the temperatures are nice. If it gets too hot, we'll have to eat indoors. So that'll be the Mena House, and then we're going to head back to the hotel. We're going to visit a church and a synagogue before we head back to the hotel. You're going to get a free evening, and then the next morning, we're going to fly back, transfer to the airport, and do that 1-hour flight down to Luxor. And Luxor itself is ancient capital of Egypt. Luxor, an Arabic word meaning fortress or castle. And they say it's pretty much known as the world's greatest outdoor air museum. And we'll fly down into Luxor. And then we'll get there in the late morning, and then we'll transfer to our ship. We have our own private dock in Luxor. You'll board our ship, check into your room, have lunch on board, and then we'll head over to the Luxor Temple. And this temple here, built back around 1400 BC, and built by order of King Ramses II. And a lot of people ask, well, what are the tours like? You know, how long are the walking tours to the temples, and what's it like, and so on. So we'll visit a lot of temples and tombs along the Nile, and they're pretty much, for the most part, walking tours. And walking tours take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. And when you do walking tours, there isn't any seating to rest. So you should be able to walk for 1 to 2 hours. The pathways and the floors of the temples and stuff, they're pretty much made of stone. The temples are the way they were back when they were built. So be able to walk 1 hour to 2 hours. And for those that have any walking or mobility issues and stuff like that, it can be difficult to do these walking tours of the temples. Sometimes you can manage, sometimes you won't. Sometimes if it's too much, we can get a wheelchair and push through the temples and so on like that. But not all the temples will have access to wheelchairs. So if there are some mobility issues, just travel with an open mind. There may be some temples or tombs that you won't be able to visit, but for the most part, you should be able to see most of them. Dress code in the temples, there's no real dress code to visit the temples. I just say a hat, you know, and lots of sunscreen. And I also say the tours of the temples, while you're on the Amadallia and while you're in Egypt, the ship holds 68 guests. You're broken up into 3 groups of 20 to 23 guests, and you're assigned, you get your own Egyptologist for the whole trip. And that Egyptologist, university educated, they do have a special license, and they'll be your guide through all the temples and tombs, as well as up in Cairo. Yes, there'll be an AMA tour director that oversees them all, but you'll also have your own Egyptologist. All right, some of the temples that we'll visit along here. This is the temple of Queen Hatshepsut, and I always have a hard time saying it. And I asked my friend Magdi, who I work with in Cairo, how does he pronounce it? And he goes, well, when you have a hard time doing it, just say Queen Hot Chicken Soup. So that's what I say, is the Queen Hot Chicken Soup. And she reigned Egypt for over 20 years. And she was really a strong leader. You think about it, she was a female leader. And this was way back, you know, 3,000 years ago. And to get a female leader today as a prime minister, president, or whatever, you know, it's a big deal. But Egyptians were doing it long time ago. And when you see statues of Queen Hatshepsut in Egypt today, you'll see her with broad shoulders. She may have a beard, king's crown, just because she was so strong, so forceful. You know, they interpret her as a male despite being a female. After 20 years, her son took over. Another neat thing, this is really exclusive that we visit in Egypt. Very few people get to go into this tomb. It's called the Tomb of Queen Nefertari. And she was the first queen of King Ramses, or Pharaoh Ramses II. She was considered the most beautiful. She died around the age of 45, which is in today's age is like 120. So she lived a good long life. Actually, King Ramses, he probably lived, they say, some people say 65, 66 years old. Others say he lived into his 90s. So in any case, good long life for that time. Back to Queen Nefertari, she was educated, she could read, she could write. She married King Ramses when she was 13. He was actually 15. And so this temple, this tomb of Queen Nefertari, it was pretty much not used or banned. It wasn't even touched by man, you know, till the 1980s. They really started to go in and explore it and stuff, even though they had founded it back earlier in the century. But for the most part, it wasn't open for tourists, and they recently started to open it exclusive just to a set number of guests. And reason cruise companies don't include this tomb is because the entrance fee. Our cost to get into the tomb is $125 per person, just for one person. And of course, that's included with our cruise, but you don't find this tomb on other cruise companies because of the cost. They won't sell it. And you have to have reservations far in advance to get in. Only a certain number of people each day are allowed to go into the tomb. And it's an incredibly colorful tomb, 5,500 square feet. And when you go through the tomb, you'll find little poems and stories that are handwritten on the wall by King Ramses. So it's really a special place. So I put this picture here of Temple of Horus, and I put this in here, built back around 240 BC. Well-preserved temple. And why is it so well preserved? It's because back in the 1860s, there was a French archaeologist in the area, and he was digging around on all the sand dunes in the area, and he came across something hard, and he kept digging, and lo and behold, covering this temple was a massive desert sand dune. So anyways, they found this because it was underneath a sand dune, and I just threw that in because pretty remarkable the size of the sand dunes at the time. All right, in Egypt, temples tend to be on the east side of the river and tombs are on the west side. And back in the day, Egyptians never said sunrise. They called it the birth of the day. And they never said sunset. They called it the death of the day, which is why tombs are on the west side. The sun sets in the west. The sun is the death of the day. Tombs house the dead. So that's why tombs are on the west side of the river. For the most part, temples on the east side. While we're in Egypt, you'll get to do the traditional felucca ride along the river. And then we're going to visit something that's really special too, a Nubian village. And the Nubians were the first settlers in Egypt, long before the Egyptians. They came from the Central Sahara, probably around 8,000 BC. And they settled in northern Sudan and the southern part of the Nile in Egypt and on the islands. And the Nubians here, this is a home in a Nubian village. They're incredibly colorful. And not only colorful, you can see that the carvings and the drawings on the outside of the home, yeah, it looks pretty and stuff, but there's more to the story because all these drawings and carvings and shapes and so on, that's telling you, the person walking by, the history of that family or the family that lives in there. So we'll visit a Nubian village, typical Nubian in a village. And we'll walk through the village, we'll meet the locals, we'll visit maybe the spice market in that village. And other companies include visits to different Nubian villages along the way. And they come and they visit, you hang out for 45 minutes and you head back to the ship. But actually, we're going to take it one step further and visit a Nubian village, tour, meet the locals and stuff, but then we're also going to have lunch with the Nubians in their village. Another really neat place to visit is Abu Simbel. On our program, it's an optional trip. And Abu Simbel, about 200 miles south of Aswan. And the only way to get there during our time is to fly there. There's a flight, takes about 40 minutes. Abu Simbel, built by King Ramses, and it was originally carved out of a mountainside along the Nile River 3,000 years ago. And what happened back in the late 1950s, early 1960s, they built a dam, the high dam, the Aswan Dam. They started to build it. And the lake behind the dam that was to form was Lake Nasser. And as the water levels of the lake would rise, it was actually going to cover Abu Simbel. So the Egyptian government took this temple apart, brick by brick by brick, and moved it up the hill 600 feet. It's a massive temple. It's absolutely beautiful. You can see the size. You can see at the entrance, there's a person standing next to the entrance. And like I said, it was built by King Ramses. And what makes this kind of special is that when the sun rises on February 21st, and the first rays of the sunshine will shine through that entrance of that door, the first rays. Then again, on October 21st, same thing. The first rays over the horizon will shine through that door. And those days are too special because February 21st was King Ramses' birthday and October 21st was his coronation day. And when they built it up and they moved it up the hill, the rays come through on February 21st, but they sometimes might be a day off and it'll be February 22nd, the first day they come through. The whole idea is that it's remarkable they managed to build this and dismantle it and build it again and bring it up. So a lot of people want to see Abu Simbel, but the number of people that can see it is limited to the number of seats available on the plane. And most companies will sell it as an optional. Once you get on the cruise, and it's kind of like first come, first serve. But what we're doing is we're going to pre-sell it. So you actually are assured a seat on the flight before you leave to go to Egypt. And you just let us know at the time of booking the cost to fly down there. So like a 4-hour whole trip, like just over $325 in 2021. So it's just something unique. Abu Simbel, it holds a special place in my heart. The first time I saw it, I had no idea what I was going to see. And it's that feeling you get, just like, you know, the first time you'll see the pyramids or Machu Picchu, the Great Wall of China. Actually, it's the feeling when I got to see Waikiki and Haleakala, those places, incredible feeling, beautiful place. And once you've seen it, it'll stay with you for the rest of your life. Another temple we'll visit is Komombo. Komombo, about 30 miles north of Aswan, built around 330 BC, dedicated to two gods, Sobek, who was the crocodile god, and Horus, who was the falcon head god. And you can actually see the entrances. There's two entrances into the temple, and each entrance is dedicated to one of the gods. What makes this kind of cool is you'll find a lot of mummified crocodiles in the area. Karnak Temple is the largest temple that you'll visit. It's actually the largest temple religious outdoor site in the world. It covers about 250 acres. It's over 2,000 years old. This was the temple that people went to, back in the day, 2500 BC. This is, they built this temple gradually over a period of about 1,500 years. So this temple, because it's the largest, this is one where you would expect to have a 2-hour walking tour. And the last temple I'm going to point out to you, and there's lots of places we're going to visit. I'm just pointing out some of the highlights, and this is the Temple of Hathor. They consider this probably the best preserved temple, over 2,000 years old. It actually consists of 3 temples, and there's a lot of sacred pools and swimming pools in this temple. You can't swim in these pools now. They're filled with gravel and so on. They consider this temple probably one of the most colorful, has an influence of Egyptian, Greek, and Roman architecture. And because they had swimming pools in this area, you got to think about it. 3,000 years ago, they were swimming in pools in Egypt. For us to get into a pool nowadays, I mean, that's a highlight. I mean, we still don't take that for granted type of thing. So again, the Egyptians, they were way ahead of their times, or what they've done. They set the stone for the way we run our lives today. So if you go to Europe, you see a lot of churches, temples, plazas and stuff like that, and you spent maybe a week in Europe, and then maybe by the 8th or 9th day, you're going to see the church and the plaza, and you're going to say, wow, that's still really great, but wouldn't it be nice to see something different? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to fly back to Cairo on the second to last day, and we're going to head to what they call the Abdeen Palace, like a presidential palace built back in 1873 for the monarchy in Egypt. And this palace, or now today, does house the president at times. And also, if you're a dignitary visiting Egypt, this is where you would stay. The palace itself has a lot of different little small museums within it. Things like a old world clock museum, an art museum. There's even a museum where the gifts that dignitaries have brought over the last 100 years, have a little display of that in the palace. So we're going to go into this palace, and we'll do a tour. Very few people get to go into this, again, because of the cost. It's really expensive. Most companies will just skip it. We'll do a tour, a walking tour, partial tour of the palace, and then we're going to take it one more level, and we're not going to leave after a tour. We're going to stay there. We're going to have lunch inside the palace. And we're going to call this kind of like a farewell lunch, because this is the second to last day. And if we did a farewell party at the end of the day, dinner, stuff like that, it can get pretty late. And most of the flights back across the Atlantic towards North America tend to leave very early in the morning at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And we felt if we did a farewell dinner in the evening, people would be a little bit antsy. They want to get to a room, pack, get a good night's sleep, and so on. So we're doing a festive farewell lunch. And after we spent the time in the palace, we're going to take a drive through Old Cairo. We'll get back to the hotel. You have your free evening, and then the next morning, we'll transfer you back to the airport for your flight back home. A lot of us have been stuck at home a lot lately, and I just happened to see an incredible documentary about 2 months ago, and it's called The Secrets of the Saqqara Tomb, and this is on Netflix. It's a recent documentary. They started filming this back in 2019, and it's this tomb that they discovered in and around the pyramids. And so I won't tell you too much about it, but the documentary is about what they unearthed, the timeline of how they unearthed things in real time. About an hour and a half documentary, and the suspense builds up and up and up until the end. The last 10 minutes are pretty incredible. So anyways, the secrets of the Saqqara tomb. So that's our trip to Egypt. Now I'd like to talk to you about some of our extensions. And the first one we have is the Jordan extension. This is 4 nights that you would visit Jordan before Egypt. Hotel we stay at, it's 2 nights in Amman and then 2 nights in Petra. Hotel, the St. Regis, a 5-star hotel. It's just opened up again after a year of renovation. So it's a beautiful hotel in central Amman. Amman itself is an old city. Some of the statues in Amman are over 7,000 years old. City itself is the capital of Jordan. 4 million people live in Amman. And so we're going to do 2 nights in Amman. We're going to do a city tour of the old part of Amman. And then we'll also head out to Jerash. And Jerash itself is sort of a ancient Greco-Roman type city, built back in the 2nd century. Of course, it was abandoned. You can kind of see the Roman Colosseum or here at Jerash. So we'll head out to Jerash after we've toured Amman. It's about 40 miles north. And we'll also have lunch out in this area at an old historic castle-like restaurant. After 2 nights in Amman, we're going to drive 4 hours south and we'll head over to Petra. And we all know Petra, the scene. This is the treasury, often made famous by Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade. Petra has been around probably, they believe, since the 5000 BC. It was abandoned around 200 BC, and probably was a city of about 30,000 people. And it was eventually abandoned because of trade, different trading routes changed. There was drought, war, all different types of reasons. But the only reason this place could survive is because they built these incredible, like, canals, water from the mountains above where there was snow, and the water, they had a constant supply of water into the city. But once the drought hit, they couldn't get water, and it was abandoned. It wasn't again discovered until the 1800s by a Swiss explorer. So we'll tour Petra and its ruins, and consists of over 800 tombs and temples in Petra. And the hotel we're going to stay at is called the Old Village Resort. And it's not a 5-star hotel, kind of like how you've gotten used to with our, say, the trip to, we're using in Egypt, the hotels we use in Europe and the Mekong and so on. It's a 4-star hotel, and we chose this hotel for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's authentic, and it's kind of built inside the cliffs, the red cliffs of Petra. It's got the really cool architecture. The climate in Petra can get pretty hot, so the rooms have this cooling effect with the rock and so on. Also, because this hotel is actually owned by the locals. Petra itself now has a population of about 8,000 people. The locals own this hotel. They're so local, they don't even have a liquor license. Yeah, there's a couple of international chain hotels, 5-star hotels in the area, but we just chose this because we thought it was, you'd like the local experience, and we're helping the local community. And if you go on TripAdvisor or something like that, you'll find this hotel, they're rated #1 hotel in Petra. So that's 4 nights in Jordan, and then we'll fly you to Cairo to join your Egypt tour. The other option you can do before Egypt is Dubai, an amazing city, massive, built out of nothing on the Persian Gulf. Architecture is crazy, amazing. Sometimes it can be cheesy, it doesn't matter, but it is a city that is over the top, but it's an over the top that is really interesting to see. And the hotel we're going to use there is the JW Marriott. Again, look at the architecture, it's kind of cool. And just picture from the rooms, you can see over the Persian Gulf there. The rooms that we use are deluxe rooms. And when we're in Dubai, you will get a city tour of Dubai. We meet you on arrival, take you to the hotel. There'll be probably a good number going to Dubai. Majority of our guests will go to Jordan, and not Dubai. But we'll do a city tour and see all the highlights of Dubai. And we'll also head out into the desert and do a sand dune desert. And when we're out in the desert, we'll stay a little longer and we'll have dinner out in the desert. Kind of a unique dinner under the stars out in the desert. And I should also point out, the last time I was in Dubai, and this is kind of like how over the top they are, when I was with our guide and we're running around looking at different things in Dubai, it was July, it was 115 degrees, and that was way too hot. We don't go there in July, so you don't have to worry about that. I said, I got to get out of here. And I said, let's go cool off. And he goes, well, let's go to the mall. And I said, I don't really like malls. I'm not a shopper or anything like that. He goes, this mall's different. So we walk inside the mall, and to the left, as I looked, there was a ski hill inside a mall. And so we actually spent, I skied in college and stuff like that. So I said, ditch Dubai today, let's go skiing. And we spent the next 3.5 hours skiing at this indoor mall in Dubai when it was 115 degrees outside. So that's kind of like over the top they are. We'll also visit, we'll go down to Abu Dhabi, and we'll visit Abu Dhabi. It's about 80 miles just southwest of Dubai. And we'll also see this temple or mosque here. It's called the Zayed Grand Mosque. Beautiful mosque. It's actually not old. It was built in the early 1980s. But we get there on a Thursday. But if you were there on a Friday, you would be in this plaza along with 40,000 other worshipers. So that's 3 nights in Dubai. Before Egypt, you choose Jordan or Dubai. And then at the end of your trip to Egypt, you can go to Israel for 4 nights if you like. There's a flight from Cairo to Tel Aviv. It takes about an hour and a half in the morning. And so we'll fly into Tel Aviv. You'll do a city tour of Tel Aviv, visit the old section of the city, and then we'll head up to Jerusalem for 4 nights. And when we're in Jerusalem, like if Christianity is really important to you, it's part of your life and so on like that, you're going to go to Israel for maybe a week, 10 days, maybe even longer. If you're Jewish and you want to explore the Jewish history and so on like that, you're going to go to Israel. Then you'll spend a week, 2 weeks, 10 days. What we're just trying to do is, because we only have 4 nights, we're just going to give you a taste of everything that Israel has to offer. Yes, you'll visit Bethlehem, the tomb of King David. We'll visit the Jewish quarter. We'll even visit the Maha Yahweh outdoor market where the locals go to shop for their things, everyday vegetables and goods and so on like that. And the hotel that we're going to use is the Waldorf Astoria in central Jerusalem. And this is a 5-star hotel. And also, remember, we visited central Jerusalem, visited all the sites, but we're also going to head outside the city. And one of the places we're going to visit is Masada, the Hebrew word meaning strong foundation or fortress. It's at the top of a hill, built around 30 BC by King Herod. And it was the final site in the First Roman Jewish War. Of course, then this is where the elite used to go to get away from it all, if you want to say, make it simple. And look on the left-hand side of the cliff here, you can see sort of a black thing sticking out. Well, actually, that's a cable car. So we're going to go to the top of Masada and do a walking tour and get to the cable car. We'll do a walking tour and then pay attention to the water you kind of see out there on the top left-hand side. That's actually the Dead Sea. And after we've gone to Masada, we're going to head down to the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea itself is the lowest elevation in the world. It's anywhere from 16 to 1,400 feet below sea level. And it depends on the level of the water, the level of the Dead Sea, how below sea level you'll go. And the other thing that makes the Dead Sea really famous is it's so salty that you can float and you don't sink. That's not me, but if we'll head down to the Dead Sea, we'll visit a resort there, we'll have lunch down there. And those that want to can go in for a dip in the Dead Sea and try it out and not sink. Those that don't want to can relax at the resort. I know you see in these spas and stuff, Dead Sea salt, mud, stuff like that. Maybe get a facial or something. But anyways, we'll spend a nice afternoon down there on the Dead Sea. Just something different, something to explore. Now, that's my presentation. I hope I wasn't too long. Richard, are you there?
I am here, Todd. That was a great presentation. Thank you so much for that. That was fantastic. So if anybody has any questions, we still have some time if you want to enter something in the questions box. Otherwise, if you have any questions specifically for Kathy, we've got her contact information here. If you don't have that readily available, her email address and phone numbers, you can reach her. But I think we also wanted to, Kathy, if you're ready to do this, and we can check back to see if any questions come in, I think we want to try and do the giveaways that you had. Is that okay? Do we want to try that now? Oop, can't
You
hear
did?
you.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So
I'm
Rich,
going to try to
we have a fun little way
screens
to
over
do the
here.
giveaway. And by the way, Todd, that was a really good presentation. I enjoyed it.
Did
And
you? I was
I
waiting
did.
for you to say stuff because you've
I
been
know.
there. I wanted you to jump in.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, I mean, it brought me back. I mean, I've been there twice, and I haven't been to Abu Simbel, so I need to go
Okay, there
there.
you go. All right.
I need to go to Petra, so I got to go there, and Israel. So I've got my whole trip planned out.
So you've got a
So
third trip coming to Egypt. Third time's the
yeah, yeah,
That's fantastic.
the listeners and stuff with the general our travelers and stuff. Jordan is the most popular extension that people do purchase.
yeah,
Israel #2, and then Dubai's #3.
yeah. Oh, and I'm wearing, this is from my last trip to Egypt. We were in the market, in the Coptic quarter.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so, um,
You wear it a lot, or did you wear it just?
oh yeah, no, I wear, it's one of my favorite pieces. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
All right. So, like,
So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can
okay.
see something that
Yeah.
looks Wheel of
Oh, there
Fortune.
we go.
Can you see that? All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So we've entered
Okay.
the first name of everybody that joined us today. So Kathy, why don't you share what your giveaways are, and then I can go ahead and give this a spin. Or
Okay.
yeah.
So the first prize is, you can't see it in here. It's a mask lanyard. They're really cute. I had a friend who makes them, so I bought a bunch of them. But basically, because I think we're going to be wearing masks for a while, it's just a good little thing to have. They're mostly for the ladies, so I guess I see a couple of men. So if you win one, you can share it. But so I have the lanyard. Mask is not included, but this one has they have a little charms on it. This one has a little heart. So that's the first prize.
Okay.
So
Why don't we do
what
the
is that?
first one? We'll give a spin. Here we go.
Oh, that's
I gotta
hilarious.
write this down so I don't forget.
Great.
Nancy,
Nancy.
I think that's
Congratulations,
Nancy
Nancy.
Thies, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Congratulations, Nancy.
All right.
Okay. The second prize is uh, this is another ladies one. I don't think I have anything for men, but that's okay. But a little makeup bag. It's a Manaola makeup bag. So there you go.
Here we go.
Rose.
Rose.
Okay, Rose. I don't know Rose, but I will contact you and get your address
Congratulations.
and get that up to you.
Very
Okay. The next one, well, you guys most of the people might have one of these, but it's a Captivating Journeys shopping bag. So these come in very handy when you're traveling. You just it scrunches up into your bag. And let's see
okay.
who wins that one.
Claudia.
Claudia. I think Claudia won the last time too. She won something. All right. And the last one is a $25 gift card to Target.
Nice.
a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one. All
that
right.
could
Here
go
we go.
for the guys too.
There we go.
Carol. Congratulations, Carol.
Fantastic.
So,
Congratulations to all the winners. That's great.
yeah. So thanks for joining us. And I will be sending, I guess you'll send me a recording, right, of the presentation so we can watch it again.
That's right.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, let me know. Oh, I do have a question, Todd.
Uh-oh.
So I think Egypt is open now, if I understand right. And because I
Yes, Europeans, yeah, they are going to Egypt. Yes.
Mhm.
Got to get your tests and so on before you go.
Yeah. And I know we're kind of stuck here, but and I think September is when your first sailing is,
Yeah. So
tentatively.
I'm going to get Richard to weigh in on this in a second. But my personal opinion is that, well, I think you will have to be vaccinated before you can travel. So, these countries overseas, you're going to have to show a card to enter a country. And by that time, you won't have to do the testing. But
Testing.
as a company, we have some pretty good experience with this COVID already. And Richard's going to say something about this. Will you, Richard?
Yeah, I sure will. Yeah. So if you've gone to some of our other presentations, you may have heard a bit about this before too, but last year we actually did have a ship that sailed. Now it sailed in Europe, sailed for just over 4 months, and it was chartered by a German company. So not for North Americans, but the reason I'm sharing that with you is because along with everybody else, when COVID came on the scene, we started putting plans together to see how can we protect this experience when we can go back, ensure the safety of our guests, the safety of our crew, and make sure we're managing all the requirements and restrictions. And we had the opportunity to do that. And most importantly, nobody got sick with COVID the entire time that we operated. In fact, a number of people booked a second trip, even the third trip with us. So I won't get into all the details of everything that we did, but basically everything to ensure that safety. Whether or not we'll be taking all those practices and putting them on all of our different departures once we can fully start sailing again, I don't know. I can't speak to that just yet, but it allowed us to really be adaptable, to put some things into place, to test some different things, and it was very successful. So I mean, you can have some peace of mind in terms of that, but even going back to Todd's point, I think there's a lot that remains to be seen. As you can imagine, there's a number of different, just to travel to Egypt or even travel to Europe, right? I mean, there's a number of things in place, right? Just getting to the airport, getting through security, getting on the plane, the different airlines and all the rules that they're going to have when you arrive in these different countries and whatever rules they may have. Talking about Europe, we have the European Union, but Austria, as an example, may say, in addition to that, we want this to be managed too. So all those things we need to line up. We're staying on top of every one of those details so that we can relay that to our customers so that they can plan appropriately. So I would say stay positive. I think we're finally hearing that the first positive things in a year now since this is all kind of been spread. So let's just wait a bit longer, see what things come about. But we're really optimistic with the news that we're hearing. So we'll see.
All right, thanks. And I know what I've been hearing is people are planning ahead, mostly for what, 22 now. So, and because your ships are small, you need to get on it. So.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we got some great offers just across the board, a number of different things right now too. And really, if anybody books in Egypt Cruise, if anybody books any one of our products within the next 2 weeks, we'll make sure that we include an additional $100 savings per person, in addition to any other special offers that might qualify as well.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you very much. And thanks for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Be safe.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.